Shavua Tov, everybody. This is going to be a very important class, and it's going to be short. I know you're like, yeah. His short is 3 hours. This class is short. I'm flying in a few hours. So it's going to be short. So first of all, most important for the ones who are on the video listening, Bezrat Hashem, in a few hours I'm taking off, leaving our lovely country to the stinky United States. And many ask me, why you go? So I'm not going because I'm missing something over there. It's because 5 years I couldn't go. Now I can go. Doors are open. There's millions of Jews there that they need to get a little slap to their face. So I volunteered to the job. So Bezrat Hashem, I'm starting in New York, New Jersey, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Denver, Miami, and many others. So with very, very, very powerful, strong lectures. I highly recommend, if you are from these cities, to come and visit. So, since I'm leaving in a few hours and I'm clearing my day to give a class, I think this is should be the red light that the class is important. If it wouldn't be important, I wouldn't bother myself a few hours before flight. But I'm not going to be teaching here the whole summer. I'm only going to be teaching in the States. A lot of the lectures in the States are repetitive because it's different cities, so there's not a lot of videos going to go up online. So at least that I have some strong message for you to hold till we meet next time. I don't need to explain and to add and to repeat and all the rest about what's going on in the world. Okay, we had a lot of classes in the last few months. Besides, you have two eyes. You see what's going on. How you perceive what's going on, that's a whole different thing. But you see what's going on. Now, I'm not talking right now globally. That any person sees that the world is not doing that great. Even if you're not looking in messianic glasses or lenses, right? Even if you're just a regular person that lives your life, you see the world is a madhouse. Now, when it goes down to your personal life, there's not one person right now in the world that is not going through a roller coaster of issues. Some people will say, yeah, I have some challenges, but it's nothing to be excited from. That's a good attitude. But the reality is that most people, there's maybe a fraction of a few that might be an exception. But the reality is that most people are going through a roller coaster of issues, challenges, and situations that in many cases can't even handle. On the outside, everybody looks okay. They smile to you. Baruch Hashem, everything looks fine on the outside. On the inside, Hashem erachem, what's going on? Starting with challenges of health, of emunah in Hashem, belief in Hashem, parnasa, livelihood, marital issues, singles, can't have kids, kids are problematic. I mean, everybody has a handful of adventures, and nobody can say, oh no, I'm fine, everything's doing great. And like I told you, there will be an exception of people telling everything is doing great. Yeah, I see the chaos, but I'm fine. And like I told you, these are either very blessed people with good attitude, or they're completely ignorant, they don't even know what's going on. But the reality is that I might miss one, but the majority of the ones who are listening right now are juggling a few difficulties, challenges, and issues in their life right now. And maybe now they have a 3 months break, but 3 months ago was issues, and 3 months from now, the reality is that everybody, everywhere in the world, is going through a lot of different challenges. And everyone in the area where it's the hardest for them, and all day long, they're literally from one challenge to another problem to another. And besides what I just said, and that the world looks like it's falling apart, we are also acquainted, to most people, some people don't see that, but most people realize already that we don't have leaders, we don't have a government, we don't have anything. At this point, we're already kind of proven, and it doesn't matter which country it is, doesn't matter. It's Israel, America, it's everywhere. Everyone can see, and it doesn't matter which opinion they're holding. You see that our leadership is all corrupt. If it's in Israel, everything is corrupt. Everything. Like not even one thing. That is like, you can say, it's there's honesty here. And otherwhere in the world, it's everywhere. So people who their head is screwed very well to their shoulders, they see, we see what we're dealing with. You see exactly what you're dealing with, not that you have anything to do. You have no power, and you have no means or any option about doing. But at least you recognize that. So saying in other words, if I have to title the last 5 minutes in one sentence is, the world is being governed by the midah of gvura. Right? The world is being governed with judgments. I mentioned many times, it says in Tehillim, Yemei shnotecha 70 shana v'im gvurot 80 shana. That refers to the 70s and the 80s. We are right now in the 80s, not in the 1980s, rather in the Tafshin Pays, which means that we are in the 80s in the 10 years right now of the calendar. Last decade we were in the 70s, right? Tafshin Ain, and then on. I explained many times that in the 70s we still had the opportunity to bring the redemption in a nice way, with chesed, with kindness, with mercy. But once we hit the 80s, Tafshin Pei, Vim Bigvurot 80 shana, 80 years means the Tafshin Peis, the 80s, will be 10 years, a decade of Gvurot. Gvurot means that everything is dealt with judgment. Everything is dealt with severity, and the mercy and the kindness is barely seen. And you see it in front of your eyes. You see that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is dealing with us with a lot of judgments. Whether you see it or not, then I'm telling you, that's the situation. But the world right now is being controlled, governed, everything with the angle of severity, of judgments. It seems like there's no love, no mercy, no patience, which, who am I to argue? I'm on Hashem's side. I don't understand how it didn't come 10 years ago. But Hashem knows what He's doing. So the fact is, to make a long story short, right now, when I say the world is being governed and controlled by dinim, the energy that comes from the world above, the godly light that comes from Hashem, comes through the sphere of Gvura. It comes in a restricted way. Not in a way of abundance, rather in a way of restriction. And that translates into judgment. Imagine now a loving father, the child does one thing, he does some damage, the father tells him, stop doing that. He's not screaming, he's not yelling, he's not angry, just tell him, don't do that. Does it another time. After 4 or 5 times, the father already doesn't have the patience anymore, and at this point he says, okay, you're going to do one more time, I'm going to punish you. The kid does it another time. So this time he punishes him. The kid is shocked. What? The last 7 times you didn't punish me? Well, the father says, well, I also have red lines. You crossed too many lines. Now you're going to get your punishment. So why are you wondering? Hashem gave us decades of warnings, and nobody seems to pay attention. So Hashem says, okay, now I'll get your attention. So again, whether you accept it, see it, or want to realize that, the world is being controlled by judgments. If you don't feel it, I think you need to seek some more spiritual guidance. So what's the point of the class that I want to make tonight? Is that if we're going to need to deal with the judgments as they are, we're not going to be able to deal with it. Because it's going to become stronger and stronger and stronger. We're not going to be able to deal with it. So what do? So the point that I want to make in this class is how to sweeten the judgments. The judgments are not going anywhere. But you can sweeten the judgments. Now, we have to understand that there's a lot of talk that you hear it from many politicians, from many other people, the concept, the term New World Order. Okay, we spoke about it many times, no big news. But what is important news is to understand is the only one who's coming to make a new world order is Hashem. Not anything else. Not governments, not individuals. The only one who's coming to change the order of the world is Hashem. He's telling it to us in many different hints, and He's proving it to us right now by breaking everything's foundation. Finance, security, faith, anything that you look at, Hashem is pulling the carpet under the feet. So our entire reality is going to be questionable, including my faith in Hashem, and including in the faith of myself. But when my ground is shaking and there's no stability in the ground I'm standing on, which is done deliberately by Hashem, then I would lose my focus. And then the chaos in my life starts. And the worst of all, that it can reach to a point that I start questioning God. And by the way, we all question God. Don't raise your hand and say you're the one who don't question God. You question God, and don't worry. And if you don't question Him now, He's going to bring you to your knees very soon. And let's see then if you're going to question Him or not. What we're seeing right now in the world, that's not even the promo of the what's maybe going to happen. This is just like warming up the engines. So you have to understand that Hashem is coming into the world and He says, I'm doing a new world order here. I'm changing everything. I'm going to break every foundation you have in this world, that you will be insecure, you have nobody to trust, and the result is going to be that you are going to end up on your knees begging for mercy. I said that many years ago. Now what's important to know is, if you want to use the term New World Order, and when I told you the Master of the Universe, Hashem, is the one who's going to do a New World Order, not anybody else. But you have to understand and remember something that most people don't realize. When I do mitzvot, when I'm attached to Hashem, when I learn Torah, when I do what Hashem wants me to do, I am making such a revolution, in my own body and soul, that I'm making a new world order in my own life. And eventually my behavior will affect the rest of the world. One person can affect the rest of the world. You don't need so many people. Remember, I told you a few years ago when we started the 40-day journey, I quoted the Zohar that says we don't need so many people. We need knish tachada, 1 minyan of people. That's it. Bring 1 minyan of 10 men. That's it. They can do everything by themselves. We don't need the entire world. Of course, let's go find these 10 men. But in the meantime, we need as much power as possible. But the reality right now, and again, I'm making a very general overlook. Don't attack me and tell me it's not true when it comes to you. The reality right now, that most of us, like I mentioned before, is juggling a few things at the same time that are bothering you. Usually, in most of the cases, the dominating one is money. Everybody's now is financially stressed, one way or another, and again, with an exception. Then it comes to health, and then the rest of the things, dealing with your children, dealing with your spouse, marriages, divorces, non-married, not children, the regular things. And then it goes into a more deeper level, and it starts affecting my emotions. That my situation right now is so overwhelming that my emotions are imbalanced. I'm moody, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I sleep, I'm awake, I can't think, can't focus. Freaking out at every person that looks to me the wrong direction. And then it goes on and on and on, and it gets to a point that most people, again, in public, they hold themselves. They come out, they dress, they put makeup, they get dressed all nice. Hello, how are you? I'm doing great. Joking, how are you? But really deep down inside, take a break. There's some of the people on the verge of breaking down completely. All it needs is another missile, another news, or something going on in their life, and they can't take it. Now, it's not that I'm assuming. I'm telling you this based on the thousands of people that I meet, talk, and see every day, all day long. As I mentioned many times in my lectures, I never get an email or a WhatsApp or any type of message. Rabbi, I just wanted to inform you everything is going great. Thank you so much. I never get such a message. Come and look at my system. We get thousands of messages every day. I'm not exaggerating. Thousands. Combined in emails, WhatsApp, SMS, Facebook, Instagram. Not one message of somebody telling me, good news. All the messages is tzarot, problems that you're like, the poor girls that are reading the emails. I don't read the emails. I can't read these Megillas. I read 2 lines, I get already dizzy. The poor ones who are reading it, you just cry just to read the situation. So my clear assumption I don't need to assume. I see it, people's faces. I feel people's energy. Everybody's on the verge of cracking down for one thing or another. And again, there are some strong people, and that they're, by the way, doing what I'm about to say without even noticing that they're doing, and that's releasing some of the pressure. But the sad reality is that what we are all experiencing now in a personal level, that's nothing. Prepare. Take a deep breath. And that's why I wanted to do this class now, because the summer is going to be hard. So you're going to need a deep breath to hold to the wave and the other wave and the other wave that Hashem is bringing. And it's nothing to do with you, by the way. I'll touch that in a second. It's what Hashem wants to do. And the reality, like I told you, one person could say, I don't have financial issues, or I'm happily married. But you might have 1 or 2 or 3 good things here. This is Hashem's like bonus. He gives you a few good things in your life, so you're completely not going to break. I'm not talking about the people that can't even find one thing that is good in their life, what they're dealing with. Each one, whatever they can handle. And again, depending on the personality and the level of belief and the level of observance, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu also lays off. It doesn't put so much pressure. But the reality, and like I told you, with a small exception, everybody's dealing with a lot of hardship. And with very big things. So, like I told you, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is coming to make a new order. It seemed to him that in the last 2,000 years, nothing really changed. So, when a method doesn't work, you try another method. So, and right now, it's very obvious that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is right before the end. He's preparing the world for whatever He wants it to happen. Now, we have to understand and remember that even when Hashem slaps you across your face, as strong as it seems to you that He can, then He still enlivens you and gives you power. So Hashem is very unhappy with you right now because you gossip, because you slander, because you desecrate Shabbat, because you look to the wrong direction, you desecrate the Brit, you lie, you cheat, you steal. And the list just goes on. And I don't care if on the right you are like 95% great. You have 5% that is rotten. Your 95% great is not that great anymore. And right now Hashem is focusing on the 5% that is not great. But the reality is that each and every one of us were maybe 20% good, 80% not that great. So you have to understand that when you're doing something not so great, 20, 30 years ago, there was so much mercy that the Kadosh Baruch Hu, like a loving father, would be like, okay, so you desecrated Shabbat again. Okay, next time. I'll wait for you next time. At this point, I'm already telling you straight out, there is no patience and no mercy. The more the time proceeds, the reaction comes right away. 20 years ago, you would fail, you would feel the mercy. Nothing happened. Because really nothing happened. Hashem gave you another chance and another chance. Do tshuva, I'll give you another chance. Now, you see, you go the wrong way, you get a slap right away to the face. Dinim, gvurot, rak gvurot. It's only gvurot. Hashem is not telling you, please, maybe. He's right away putting you on the spot. The sad reality is most people don't know how to read the signs. They're going through tons of chaotic situations or tons of challenges. They don't even know how to make the connections. They blame it on the entire world. My financial situation, my boss, my this, my partner, my savta. It's not nothing, it's Hashem. It's everything is Hashem. All your problems is Hashem. It's not your wife, it's not your husband, it's not how you look, it's not the lack of money, it's not anything, it's only Hashem. Hashem is writing and designing every issue that you need to deal with. That's why I told you, we all question Hashem. So just remember that even when Hashem is already fed up, and he had it up to here, and he slaps you across the face when you cross a line, just remember that he's the one who's enlivening you that same second. And when sometimes Hashem closed the door in your face, you were waiting for that promotion, you were waiting for that new apartment, you were waiting for whatever, and Hashem slams it in your face, and you're so angry and so disappointed. Why couldn't you help me with this one? Well, first of all, you're starting to question Hashem, as I said before. But even when Hashem is taking away your parnasah, and taking away your date, and taking away your sanity, or whatever it is, and you're starting to question Hashem, don't forget for 1 second that even in that time, He's the one who's giving you air, He's the one who's giving you life. So even when you feel the punishment of Hashem for whatever you did, just know that He's still enlivening you. So that's not a punishment. He's just educating you. Now, there is a concept, we learned about it a few years ago, I will explain about it very shortly. The term is called Maim Zedonim. Maim Zedonim is referred to the water of the floods of Noach. If you hear the term Maim Zedonim, it's referring to the floods of Noach, because there were, Zedonim means not positive. It has a different meaning, but I'll choose to say not positive. Because the water wasn't positive. It destructed everything, destroyed everything, everything was underwater, etc. The Baal HaTanya explains in one of his ma'amarim, one of his discourses, that when it's talking about Amayim Zedonim, it's referring to our challenges in our day-to-day life. That every day we have challenges. One day the challenge is to deal with the municipality, and next day is dealing with the bank, and the next day is dealing with the lawyer, and the fourth day this, and every day there's something, you're constantly dealing with things. And many of it is your livelihood, and many of it is raising kids and family and so forth. This is what he calls Maim Zedonim, the like water that is washing you, but not in a positive way. It's coming to you, like as they say in English, when it rains it pours, or pours it rains. Water that it's not coming in a positive way. Like the flood. So, there is the concept that when even the entire head is in the Maim Zedonim, so first of all, spiritually what it means that your head is overwhelmed with challenges and trouble. That's what it means when your head is completely in the water. Now when your head is completely in physical water, you can't breathe. You can breathe for a minute. I mean, you hold your breath for a minute. That's it, or 2, or half a minute. But really, even when we are poured and we're troubled to a level that my head is like in the water, that all day long my head is ping pong, no rest for 1 moment, because all day long another phone call, another problem, another message. Even though the Kadosh Baruch Hu is still giving you the oxygen to breathe a little bit. So, according to nature, if a person puts his head in the water, he has no oxygen, which is the power of existence, right? But I will contradict, and I will tell you that even according to nature, when a person puts his head in water, I'm not talking right now metaphorically what I'm telling you, that the whole head is in the water, meaning your head doesn't have a moment of rest. But nevertheless, even when your whole head is in water, if Hashem wants, He's going to give you oxygen. You want me to prove it to you? I'm sure you can prove it to me. I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it, and you'll come up with an answer very fast. I'm talking, of course, of Yonah, the prophet. He lived underwater. Right? So if it says it in the Tanakh, it means that Hashem can do that. Correct? Tada. That's it. So I have proof to you that if Hashem wants a person to breathe underwater, He makes it breathe underwater. And the proof to that Jonah, or John, however you say it in English, lived underwater. And not only did he live underwater, he lived in a well. And was alive. And then, of course, he got spit out. And you know the whole story. So, there is a verse in Tehillim, chapter Peitet, 89. Sorry, 89? 98. 99. Sorry, I'm 89. Peitet. Sorry, I'm just putting all my thoughts together. By the way, everything that I'm summarizing for you now to make the story short, I'm reading from a kuntres from the Zohar. I'm narrowing down 6 hours to as short as we can do this class. Going back to Kapitel Tehillim, Peitet, verse Yud 10, it says, "Ata moshel begeut hayam, beshog alav ata teshabechem." Translation: You rule over the pride of the sea. When it rises, or when it raises its waves, you humble them. Pretty simple verse to understand what the Zohar is about to explain to us. The Zohar explains it in a much more mystical way. First of all, the physical explanation is very simple. The ocean, the waves go up, right? How did they say? You rule over the pride of the sea. So the sea has geava, the waves go up, and Hashem puts them down. And He humbles and comes down the sea. So, mystically talking, waves go up and down, so constantly there are dinim that are going up. I lie, I cheat, I desecrate Shabbat, whatever I do something wrong, a judgment goes up to the heavens. I told you that many times. The second that you do something negative, you create an entity, an angel, that goes up to the heavens and prosecutes against you. That's it. Doesn't matter who you are. And by the way, the holier you are and the greater you are, the persecution is greater. But just that you know that you said something wrong, came out of your mouth, something minor, right away there's a judgment. You file a lawsuit in the heavens. And if it's big, they're not big lawsuits. So constantly the dinim are going up towards Hashem. What does Hashem do? Exactly like He humbles the waves of the sea, then He lowers down these dinim and He sends back mercy to the Sphira of Malchut, because the dinim, they get attached to the Malchut. And I'm not going to now explain the order of the Sphirot, how it works, because it doesn't matter right now. The Zohar explains that the dinim go throughout the Malchut, they go all the way up to Hashem. Hashem, through the Sphirot, will bring down the Chesed all the way down to the Yesod, and the Yesod will bring the Rachamim, the mercy, to the Malchut, and then the mercy comes down to the world. That's what the Zohar explains. Which really what's going on with that, since the Malchut is going back to have no dinim, then the klipot that are attached to the Malchut, they go back, since they can't pull dinim anymore, they go back to their source. That's the Kabbalistic explanation. You don't have to follow it. It's not so important. Now, what happens in a situation like that? Then the klipot go back to their source, because Hashem sweetened the judgment with mercy, and suddenly something works out in your life. And you don't even know how it came. So you're getting a little hug from Hashem. You don't know that it's Hashem hugging you. Something worked out in your life. You're like, what do you know? It went through. So that was a little bit of mituk dinim, sweetening of judgments, that came down to the world. And it happens to be that Hashem gave you a little hug. I know you're suffering right now. And gave you a little kiss. And something in your life worked out. And we don't know who gave us this hug. We don't realize that it came from Hashem. Whatever little help or a little bit of breath I got to myself. We don't connect that it's Hashem. And then what happens? Then what the Zohar explains, the judgments get sweetened. Okay, I just saved you 4 pages in 5 minutes. Just that we understand the concept. Now let's go back to the what I told you with Yonah Hanavi. Yonah Hanavi falls into the water. It doesn't matter right now what he did, what he didn't want to do. It's not important for our example. Him falling into the water, that represents the judgments. Like I told you, the Maim Zedonim, he falls into the water. The water is what represents what's holding the dinim. But how come's the big wonder? How come he doesn't die? How come for the last 5,000 plus years, every person that falls in the water and drowns dies? Okay, a few people that you able to resuscitate them and they're back to life. The majority of people who drown die. So what happened with Yonah? And can you explain what happened here? I know people will say, well, Hashem wanted him to save the world and so he saved him. Okay, I accept. You're right. Hashem wanted him to go to Nineveh and tell them to do tshuva and to tell them Hashem is going to destroy them. I know the story. You don't have to tell me. I know the story like you. But it still doesn't answer the question. Why Yonah didn't die? Have you ever asked that? Besides, okay, Hashem wanted to do a miracle and to show the world how great he is. Why didn't Yonah die? First of all, there's an opinion that will disagree with it that says that Yonah did die. He had a clinical death. He was dead for 3 days and Hashem revived him. That's one opinion. So, but how did Yonah didn't die? We just read the verse, Hashem controls. How did it say in English? You rule over the pride of the sea. Tamoshel begeut hayam. The Kadosh Baruch Hu controls the world. Kadosh Baruch Hu saved Yonah, or really, how would you explain that? Midat Hadin didn't touch Yonah. The attribute of judgment could not touch him. That's the answer. Don't come to me like that, how he didn't die. The answer is clear. The same way that when David and the Yetzirah wanted to kill David HaMelech didn't stop learning Torah. Didn't stop learning Torah. He says, the second I stop learning Torah, I'm a target. And he kept asking Hashem, just tell me the day I'm going to die. First he asked him, when am I going to die? Hashem told him, I'm not telling you that. So he told him, just tell me the day. He told me that also. But nevertheless, in that respect, with Yonah, Midat Hadin, the attribute of judgment, couldn't touch Yonah. Very simple. Now I want to know what he did. What did Yonah do that the Midat Hadin didn't touch him? That it couldn't affect him? To a point that he didn't drown. He lived under the water for 3 days. So, let me explain to you something very interesting. There is a commentary on the Zohar, and it's called Haketem Paz. This is a book, a commentary on the Zohar from Rabbi Shimon Levi. If you never heard of him, that's okay. Nobody knows of him. Many do, but most people don't know. He is the first Kabbalist, the first Mekubal that we have commentary on the Zohar from. He's the first commentary on the Zohar. And he lived about before the Ari, I would say about, I don't know exactly, 500, 600 years, but he's before the time of the Ari. And the story of him goes that he lived in Spain, like all the Mekubalim, and his dream was towards his end of his life to go and be buried in Eretz Israel. So he went to do Aliyah to Eretz Israel. So he went from Spain into Morocco, into Tripoli. And when he passed in Tripoli, to his shock, he saw that all the Jews there are Amearetz. There was no Torah. There was no spiritual leadership. Nobody to lead the people. Thousands and thousands of Jews. So he decided, okay, I'm not going to Eretz Israel. I'm going to stay here. He led the community there, and he died there, and he's buried there. But nevertheless, he's the first one that we have any commentary on the Zohar. And unfortunately, with all what was going on in the last few hundred years, All the commentary is gone. We only have commentary from him from the book of Bereshit on the Zohar. So, and by the way, he's the author of the song, Bar Yochai Nimshachta Ashrecha. He's the author of the song that you all sing. You don't even know who wrote it. So now you know, Rabbi Shimon Levi. Okay? And if you want to look him up, you write Rabbi Shimon Levi, not much will come up. The Ketem Paz, that's how he's more known to. If you put your hands on some of his book, you'll enjoy good commentary. But nevertheless, he says as follows: יש מין רוח ואוויר הנכנס למים שלא על פי טבע. There is some type of a spirit, air that can penetrate into water, and that it's not according to the nature. And then he adds something unbelievable. I'm really curious to ask some zoologists about that. וזה הרוח שמחיה את כל דגי הים. That's the spirit and the air that gives air to all the creatures of the sea. Because fish breathe underwater. That's the air that they get. Not like what I learned in biology in 3rd grade, that the air goes through whatever it's called here, the fins, and whatever reverse osmosis they have. And well, I don't even know the terms in English. It's 3rd grade biology for me. But here he comes and tells you there's special air, a special spirit that Hashem puts in the water, that it's not according to nature, and that's what enlivens all the sea creatures, fish and so forth. And that's the spirit that kept Yonah alive. Yonah went under the water and whoop, he suddenly breathes underwater. How is he called, the guy in Hollywood? Aquaman? Same idea. Just as he's not so muscular like the guy from Aquaman, right? Yonah was a God-fearing Jew. He didn't have big biceps. But he became an Aquaman. He goes into the water. Hashem puts to him a spirit of air that activates underwater, and Yonah just... So, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. So much talking about water, I want to drink some water. Taste the water of Yonah. So what is the meaning of all this? That, excuse me, that even if according to nature, you see that all hope is over, all the opportunities are closed, that's it. Hashem can still send that little drop of air, that little chesed to sweeten the judgment with all the hastara, with all the concealment. Listen, I've been to very difficult situations in my life. That the concealment of Hashem was so thick that in any reality there's no Hashem here. And I've been to places in my life, I can testify for what it says. What I'm doing, I'm reading to you, but I can testify for that. I've been to places that Hashem pushed me to such a corner that I knew there's no way out. Nothing from here can help me go. Nothing can, that's it. I'm done here. And suddenly, some light came out of nowhere. I speak about it very vaguely in some of my classes the last few years. Happens to be that in the last few visits to the States, I spoke about it a little bit more openly. But in this visit to the United States, the residents of New Jersey, New York, Los Angeles, and a few other cities were going to be very blessed to hear from my own mouth my full story, how I became religious. Now, most people know that I became religious from the near-death experience, as a result from taking way too much drugs that my heart just collapsed. But most people don't ask, how did you get to a point that you get the near-death experience? What, you leave college and you I was a criminal for 6 years, but a heavy, heavy, heavy criminal. So now is not the time to share the story, but if you live in one of these great cities that I'm coming to, come to one of the Elias lectures. That's in all major cities. That is one of the lectures. But the reality is, if you need to hear the title within 2 minutes to come to the lecture to get some information or to understand what I'm about to say, that for about 6 and 7 years, I was a hardcore criminal. I was a drug dealer. I trafficked drugs. I did a lot of very, very illegal things and severe. And I mean, I was involved in anything and everything. I was wanted by the FBI, by the DA. 3 years they were trying to hunt me down. The Mexican cartel had a contract on my head, tried to assassinate me. I mean, you can't even imagine what I went through and what lifestyle I led. And eventually, at some point, Hashem said, this is enough. Caused me to stop my madness with the near-death experience. But this is the most people know. It's just the near-death experience. A year after the near-death experience, the DA and the FBI caught up on me. They arrested me. They arrested me like Bin Laden. You would see the arrest in the movies. You don't see arrests like that. Helicopters in the air, SWATs all around, breaking into the house. You can't even imagine how I was arrested. I mean, I was arrested with 127 people at the same time. Can you imagine? You know, they arrested us all at the same moment in different states. Do you know how many forces? So nobody will call the other and telling me I'm being arrested right now. We all got arrested at the same time. And shortly after, I'm facing an indictment with 49 counts. Federal indictment. I was looking at 40 years in jail. No mercy, no discounts, no nothing. And that was nothing. They were informing the judge, we're still investigating connections to drugs, drug trafficking, terrorism. So after sitting in jail for a year and a half, still facing 40 years in jail, I got out somehow. I'm not going to tell you the whole story right now. Coming to the lecture. But I got out. I'm telling you that 127 people were arrested. Half were sitting in jail and deported. You know that so many of them are still sitting in jail. Half of my friends are still sitting in jail for that. But why am I telling you all this? Not to promote the lecture that you come and hear it. Because you need to hear the whole story to understand that after dealing with all this, you know what was the verdict in my trial? $1,000 fine and a year probation. When my indictment was asking 40 years in jail. You have to hear the whole story because that's Hashem's way. He can do this and he can do whatever he wants. You have to hear all the details because then you really understand that when Hashem wants to do something to change nature, he can do whatever he wants. Up until today, nobody understands. You know, the only ones who got out of this entire thing is me and my famous friend Itzik that put tefillin on me for the first time that you hear from all the stories. The only two that did tshuva, but real tshuva, not like once a week. Like nothing ever happened. Nothing is made up. You can go look in all the files online. I have everything to prove whatever. I'm not making anything up. It's not that I'm proud of what I'm saying. But I'm telling you, when it comes to Hashem, I was facing 40 years in jail. You can't get out of that. If you have very good lawyers, you'll be reduced to 20. I was against all odds released even from jail. For a year and a half, they didn't bail me out because my case was connected to terrorism. It was right before 9/11, and they thought, because I was trafficking people into the country, into the United States. I had an entire system to traffic people into the United States. They were mainly Israelis. And within 24 hours, I got them through my washing machines. They came out of the washing machine with a social security, driver's license, everything that you wanted. A U.S. citizen for a few $1,000s. And many other things. I'm telling you, my indictment, half the stuff I did, they didn't even know. They didn't even put it on the indictment. So, why am I saying all this? Because there was no chance of me. I already accepted that I'm going to be 40 years in jail. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to 40 years yeshiva. I'll go out of jail with a beard till the floor and I'll know the Talmud inside out. What am I going to do in jail all day long? I'll sit and learn. My mind, I was set. That's it. That's what I'm going to do now for 40 years. Rabbi Akiva went for 40 years to yeshiva. I'm going to yeshiva too, 40 years. I'm 28 now. I'll come out when I'm 68. 68, you start your life. What's 68? It's nothing. You still have another 20 good years to live. Right? When Hashem wants to change nature, nothing can stop him. To things that you cannot understand or believe that cannot happen. I'm telling you, things that cannot happen. After I got convicted, my lawyer told me, don't get so happy, because the second you go out of the courtroom, the immigration will arrest you. Immigration never came. Years passed, the immigration never came. And years later, when I requested a green card through my wife, who was American, blah, 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 and we went through years of torture, finally when I sat down in front of the person who gave me the green card, you know what he told me? This is a goy, this is a non-Jew. You know what he told me? Look at me. He told me like that. He was looking out for you. That's what he did. He was looking out for you. He did it with his hand like that. And he told me for 8 years, your name was not in the computer. No recollection. Your name disappeared from the system. And somehow your name popped up now, and the system generated an appointment for a green card. The guy's telling me. He's going to that. He was like, you weren't in the system. If you were in the system, you would be deported and blacklisted and never come back to this country. So every part of the way, and you have to hear the entire story, what I'm telling you now is nothing, because the tests that it wasn't like if I'm going to have money to pay the rent. That wasn't the challenges. And you have to hear the entire story, because every day here is a story and a half. It puts the near-death experience story to a shame. And that's really how I did tshuva. The near-death experience was a kick to the tuchas, the jail, and the rest all around it. That was about a 5-year period of intense pressure from Hashem. To a point that not that I think that I'm that special. I know Hashem gave me the special force to do that, but I think most people will jump off a building, what I went through. You can't even imagine. And again, why am I saying that? Because I saw with my own 2 eyes, felt with my own flesh, when Hashem wants to intervene and He wants to change something, no power in this world can do what Hashem can do. And if Hashem wants, He'll split the sea for you. And I'm telling you, I saw miracles that you can't even believe what Hashem did to me. So why am I saying? Because Hashem pushes people to such a corner, but whatever they can hold, whatever they can handle. But why am I telling you that? What's the meaning of all this? That even if, according to nature, you reach to a point, that's it. I lost. No chance. No hope. All hope is gone. This is a goner. First of all, the Talmud says, "Gam imu nachal tzavarcha," even if it's on your throat, a sword. He just needs to go like that. Still pray for mercy. So we have to understand that even in the most concealed situation, when I'm saying concealed, Hashem, when things are good in your life, and I'm talking about the near observant, that's a godly revelation. You see Hashem in your life. Sometimes Hashem disappears from your life. You don't see, you don't feel, life is falling apart. You're praying to Hashem, nothing happens. You pray, you give tzedakah, you do tshuva, you do everything what they tell you. Nothing happens. No reactions. Then at some point you're already starting to lose faith. You're like, Hashem, what's going on? That is called a concealment, that you pray, nothing happens. You do mitzvot, all you do is struggle. That's called hastara. So even when the hastara, this concealment that you can't feel, see Hashem, is huge, just that you know that Hashem, if He wants, all it takes is one drop of chesed and everything changes. Suddenly, now to describe to you the level of how Hashem can change something in one shot, my case was disqualified or I don't know the legal term, I couldn't get bail. Because, like I told you, it was right before 9/11. They thought that they were terrorists. So I didn't have any bail. Doesn't matter what's the amount. I told the judge straight out, you tell me what's the amount, within 2 hours you have it here on the table. You're not gonna stun me with an amount. 10 million, 15 million, whatever you want, it's gonna be on the table. And he looks at me and says, you have no bail. So the whole time, in my mind, no bail. So I'm not going out. You know that in one night, before you get subpoenaed to court, they let you know the night before. And then you have to be up in 4 o'clock in the morning. They take you away from the jail to the courthouse. One time they called me. I didn't know what they called me for. I come, I see my lawyer, and he tells me, can you get money? They just approved bail. You have to understand that this was like against any odds that you can think of. Suddenly Hashem wants you to get bail. Suddenly He will send the message to the right person to switch the paper like this and like that. Everything works. I can write an encyclopedia of all the miracles that I saw with my own eyes, how Hashem took something that is impossible to happen and did like this. And one of them, go see the video online. The title of it is How God Can Make Money from Air. Something like that. That's the title. Remember the story? I told you that a few weeks ago. I needed desperately a certain amount, which was around $28,000 here in Israel, not in America. The bank didn't want to give me and the thing is that I had money coming in just in a few weeks. The bank didn't want to listen. Nobody wanted to listen. If I wouldn't, the bank manager told me, if you don't put in today cash in the account, all the checks are bouncing, all the payments are bouncing. You have to hear the whole story. You have to go online, right on my YouTube, how does Hashem turn money from air, something like that. I don't remember exactly. You have to watch it. Against all odds, I'm telling you, it's a 2-hour class. Against all odds, my wife is on a bus somewhere else, never goes on a bus. Somebody calls her, tells her, can you do me a favor? I was a guest in your hotel on Shabbat, and I stayed in a different hotel in this neighborhood, and that's exactly where she's passing. In Of Kinneret. She gets off. And he tells her, I forgot something in the pillowcase. Can you go and get it for me? I'll cut here the story. My wife comes home. When I'm in pressure, you can't even imagine the financial pressure. She comes into the house holding a stash of cash like that. And she's like, look what I got. Not knowing what I'm going through. She didn't know what I'm going through. She didn't know what the bank said and there's no money. And she tells me as a joke, somebody gave a big donation. And I'm like looking at the money and I'm like, I'm taking the money. Go. Is this real? I told, where'd you get that? I count it. That's exactly what I need. On the dollar. Who leaves $28,000 in cash in a pillowcase and forgets it in a hotel and calls my wife that somehow, exactly, she's in the city, in the bus stop where she needs to get off, and she goes in and finds the money and bribes the cleaner so she can get into the room, and I get the money. Now tell me that not Hashem is doing like this. You have to see the whole class. Because you have to understand what I did. The money just came. I go to the bank with the stash and I look at the bank manager and I'm like, and the joke was that I told the guy, do you need the cash? He's like, no. I'm an art collector. I was about to pay something I bought in an auction. You pay it with a credit card, keep the cash. So not only that I kept the cash, I paid it with a credit card. I had a whole month to get the money. And I'm telling you, it was like on the millimeter. I had a few minutes to get to the bank. I had like maybe 30-something minutes after I did my prayers, after I did everything. Remember the movie Ushpizin? I was Ushpizin. I was like, Hashem, I need a miracle. You can't even imagine what I did to get that miracle. And when Hashem wants to come through, $28,000 in cash in a pillowcase. And what do you know? Exactly the amount that I need in cash. You have to see the video. So why am I telling you all this? Because Hashem puts you to the sharpest He puts you to the corner when you think all hope is lost, no way out, everything is about to collapse, I'm screwed, I'm doomed, everything. But if He wants, a little drop of chesed and everything changes. Now the big question is, who merits that? Because I don't recall you coming twice a day and reporting unbelievable miracles that just happened to you. Unless you don't want to bother me and you don't want to tell me the miracles that have happened to you day and night, left and right. But I ask, who can merit that type of chesed? What do I need to do for that? I'll tell you, it's very simple. You know who can merit that type of chesed? The one who believes that this drop of chesed exists. The conclusion is that most people don't believe that the drop exists. I told you many, many times that Tanaim, sages, from the time of the Gemara, and I'm talking about the hardcore Tanaim, they were in such a spiritual level that, one example out of many, they would walk through a wall in front of people. How can you do such a thing? You know why you don't go through a wall? Because you believe that there's a wall there. If you believe that there's no wall here, you will walk through the wall because there's no wall. What do you think the Matrix is based on? The reality is, there is no walls here. You just have this much emunah. So because you have such a little low belief, then you believe that you see stones. But if you are above the physical limitations, you see there's no wall here. So you just walk through the wall. That's a very high level of emunah. So the Tanaim were able to walk through walls, enliven dead people, teleport themselves from one place to the other. This is not exaggerations of the Talmud. So, we're talking here a very big power of miracle. This is not everybody every day can reach to such a miracle. Now I can tell you, and again, it's not showing off, not anything in that respect. I also is humbled and don't know what, how, and why. But I'm telling you that I experience these type of miracles. I experience these type of miracles. Listen, a lot of things I can't share. I don't want to share. Some of it I'm going to keep to the lecture. You know how many times I had guns to my head? And nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. And tell me that's not a miracle. And many other things. I'm telling you, I can write an encyclopedia of stories. What I've been through in 15 years before I did Tshuva. 17 videos, 100 Netflix series, just from the information what I can sell. You can't even invent the stories that I have. That's the. So again, let's go back to my question. Who merits to such miracles? Only the one who believes that this, I call it the magic drop, this drop of chesed. Only if you believe it exists. You need to believe that Hashem can do whatever He wants. Whoever believes that Hashem is the only one who's running the world and nobody else can reach to that level. But unfortunately, most people, they understand, they know Hashem runs the world, but they don't really believe that, and that's not the foundation of their entire belief. They believe the governments, they believe whatever junk they've been told. They don't make the connection that it's Hashem, or they separate Hashem. And so we have to understand that this type of emunah is not a simple emunah. This is not a simple belief in Hashem. Like I told you, I read it to you a few times, that from the Zohar, that the test that we're going to have before Mashiach is going to come is emunah. Now I know all of you are saying, what are you talking about? Of course I believe in Hashem. Okay, wait till the day that Hashem is going to put you in the corner with challenges that you can't even fathom, with chaos in your life. Now let's see how much emunah you have. So it's very easy to say I have a lot of emunah when things are fine. When things are not fine, but really not fine, then your emunah has a lot of doubts. What does Hashem want from me? What is He doing to me? Maybe it's not even Hashem, and it's all one big nonsense. And the more emunah you have, the more you're able to reach to that level, the more you're able to activate this air that Rabbi Shimon is talking about. What is he talking about? Not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shimon Lavi. He says that the special air, the special spirit. So he says the special spirit went to Yonah Navi. Now let's see if you're really on the same frequency with me. Who in the Torah, same story like Yonah Navi, just not with fire. I spilled the beans. Just not with water. Okay, no, I spilled the beans. Neither one of you would raise your hand, by the way. Avraham Avinu. How did he survive? How did he survive the furnace? Same spirit. Same air that he breathed in the fire, it didn't consume him. Because the level of emunah that Avraham Avinu had, bigger even than the Yonah Navi. Avraham Avinu probably will be one of the top, if not that top, of having emunah in Hashem. Walking blindly with Hashem. So first we have to understand that the type of miracle exists. Call it however you want. I call it the magic drop, the drop of chesed. Rabbi Shimon calls it the special spirit, the special air. It doesn't matter how you call it. You need to first understand that there is a godly power that Hashem can go like that, and He will change whatever He wants in the world, even if it's completely against nature's rules. But He's going to do it in nature. It's not going to now going to do something opposite of nature. If you're looking at all the miracles that happen in Mitzrayim, it's all in nature, just exaggerated. He didn't invent something. The water turned to blood. Blood exists in nature. Water exists in nature. So He just mixed it. That's it. The frogs came. Okay, so He made big frogs all over the place. And the arov, the mixed animals. Okay, so the safari doors open and all the streets were lions and bears and tigers. It's always in nature. And even when He split the sea, He didn't have aliens come from outer space and whoa. He just took nature and changed it a little bit. Hashem is the master of making a miracle in nature, using nature's tools and making it completely against nature. He can use a judge. He can use a politician. He can use a general. He can use whoever He wants to be the one who does the delivery of the message. So, first we have to understand that the power exists. You have to understand that even if you are in the worst place, all hopes are gone. Till your last breath, you still have to know and believe that if Hashem wants, He will change. How many people, whether it's now in October 7 or stories from the Holocaust or 1,000,001 other stories, that the person comes to shoot, the terrorist, the Nazi, whatever, no, a block in the gun, can't shoot. And million stories like that. And even more, you see now in October 7, I told you already that all the events that happened in the last few years, it's Hashem writing on the wall what He's going to do, what He's capable of doing, and what He is going to do. So Hashem is telling us here, I'll show you that I can slaughter you, but I'm also going to show you that in the madness, I can do miracles. And I will pull out whoever I want in miraculous ways that, I don't know about you, I sat a few good weeks after October 7, listened to dozens over dozens over dozens of miraculous stories of people that you're like, wow. Wow. It can only be a miracle. Next thing we need to ask ourselves is who merits such of a miracle? And like I told you, only if you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it won't happen. You're not giving room for Hashem to operate in the world. Now comes the $1 million question. How do you do it? And that wouldn't be fair, telling me this is the situation and leaving you on a cliffhanger. How do you do it? So I'm convinced there's such of a power. And I'm convinced that if I can reach to a high level of belief, I will activate it. But how? Okay. First of all, you have to understand that the term for it is called mituk hadin, sweetening the judgment. Don't call it a miracle. I mean, you can call it a miracle. But the term for it is sweetening the judgment. The judgment right now for me is to be exiled, or to be hurt, or to be poor, or to be single. Well, it doesn't matter. Now it's going to be sweetened. So I might be single for 5 years, but how do you see the sweetening of the judgment? I have a good career and a good job, and I meet people, and I help people, and I learn Torah, and I do charity, and I'm busy. I'm not like all day long crying because I'm not married. All depends how you perceive things. So again, who merits it? You have to believe it. Now the $1 million question is, how do you do it? And stick to the term sweetening the judgment. Don't say, I'm working for a miracle. I want to sweeten the judgment. I want to take something and it will stay like that, but it would be sweetened. Chas v'shalom, the decree is that the person has to be sick. Then it's not sick in the ICU, it's just some back pains. Or whatever. I'm just giving you one example out of many. Hashem can pull the pressure off and put more pressure on whatever needs to happen. Depends on you. I experienced things in my life that I understood that this was mamash, a gzera, a decree, a tikkun, whatever I had to go through. But I understood it with my actions that Hashem is sweetening the judgments. And it was hard here, so I got a few good things here. And it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and things worked out. It all's how much room you're giving for Hashem to operate. If you're not giving Hashem room to operate, He can't do nothing. So now I want to know, how do I reach to mituk hadin? Now pay attention, the class is almost over, and you have to apply it. You have to learn it and you have to apply it. I'm sure you heard the term midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. What you do, how you measure, that's what they measure to you. Very simple. When a person puts a lot of toil, a lot of effort, I'm not talking like, in Hebrew the word is litametz, to the last energy you have. But when you really go out of your way to break the power of your nature in what's hard for you, then they break that klippah from Shemayim for you. And that's how it works. So what is requested is very simple. You need to pick one thing that is very hard for you. Say Birkat Hamazon, put tefillin every day, observe Shabbat, be tznuah, modest. Doesn't matter. Every person has at least one mitzvah that is very difficult for them to do. And I'm not talking right now if a person is completely secular, first of all, it applies to them too. If a person is non-Jew, it applies to them too, because non-Jews also have to do mitzvot. It applies to everybody. But it mainly, you have to understand that it doesn't matter the level of your observance. If you're fully observant, less observant, that doesn't really matter. You have to focus on something that you know that it's your nature and it's extremely difficult for you to change. Whether it's in the department of the Torah, saying Birkat Hamazon, observing Shabbat, praying in a minyan, it doesn't matter. Or if it's not in the department in the Torah, it's some of your personality. You're quick to anger. You're very judgmental. You gossip all the time. Whatever. More and more on the emotional side, but you have no control over it. Now what is required from you is to break your nature. That's it. Once you broke your nature, that's it. The effect that you're doing from above, they break what is blocking you. That's it. Now it sounds very easy. Now go and apply it. Now let me give you one example out of many. I'll give you a few examples. Let's say you have a big Yetzer Hara when it comes to washing your hands when you want to eat bread. And that's a lot of people. Okay? You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to now publicly state your situation. I'm telling you that most people, they have a Yetzer Hara with that. Very few people love this mitzvah and do it all the time. Most people, they'll go half an hour to the other side of town to buy the pizza that is mezonot. Just not to say Birkat HaMazon. Besides the fact that I find it very hard to believe that a pizza can be mezonot, how much can you dilute the dough? But this is a good example. Now, how many times, you don't have to agree with me or nod now publicly. You can nod in your heart. How many times you're hungry, you see the roll, you don't feel like washing. You're like, I'll eat the salad. I'll just eat the burger. Or, and again, could be that you love Birkat HaMazon and I'm not the example. This is not the example. But I can see from experience that most people try to avoid this mitzvah. If they would know what this mitzvah is worth, they would wash 3 times a day. That's where all your blessing comes from. That's the only bracha, the only prayer, the only blessing we have from the Torah. This is the Oraita from the Torah. All the rest is from the sages. All the commentary and sources point that Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meal, that's the source of all your blessings. But nevertheless, there's such a Yetzer Hara. So let's say that's your Yetzer Hara. You do anything to avoid the Birkat HaMazon. Or you say mezonot, or you ignore the... Now you need to break your nature. Now every time you see the roll, or the pizza, or whatever, and your Yetzer Hara right away moves you to your nature, I don't want to say Birkat HaMazon, then you go back and you break the nature. Dafka, I'm going to do it. That was my attitude. Whatever the Yetzer Hara tells me, I dafka go against him. That was my attitude as I was taking off in my tshuva. The Yetzer Hara comes and tells me, look to this direction. Oh yeah, I'm going to look to this direction just to annoy you. You think you're going to annoy me? I know how to annoy you too. Challenge your Yetzer Hara. Are you afraid of him? Put him down a few more times, he'll leave you alone. Then he'll come back with friends and put you down. But the reality is, I'm giving you one example with the Birkat HaMazon. It can be with praying in a minyan. It can be with going with a long dress. It can be with covering your hair. It can be with anything that for you, your Yetzer Hara will convince you it's not important, it's not a mitzvah, it's not this, all the discounts you need, and you know that. But you're happy with all the discounts the Yetzer Hara gives you. You are very happy, your Yetzer Hara comes to you with a psak din, he brings you all the halachot why you are exempt, and you agree with him. That's where you fall to the trap. The point is to break your nature. Whatever your nature is, I'm breaking it. Now, not easy to do. Not easy to do, you need to have a very strong mind. I told you already, before I made tshuva, I was addicted and abused any and every substance that exists in the world. From cigarettes to cocaine and heroin and whatever you want. And I stopped like that. It all depends how much you want to break your nature. The body is strong, but the mind and the spirit is much stronger than the body. So if you want to change something, it all depends how much you're willing to break your nature. You have to try it. If you don't try it, you won't experience it. I'm telling you already, breaking your nature is not simple. If you think that once or twice you're able to overpower it, that's not breaking your nature. Breaking your nature is that you do something. I'll give you I can only give you examples of myself. Before I was observant, every word that came out of my mouth had attached to it another word. That's how I spoke. I spoke like a criminal, like a thug. And every word that came, I attached to it some derogatory word. And I would talk to people like that. What are you looking at, you ugly? Like, that's how I would talk. Walk into the bank, walk into a cafeteria. I would insult people. That's how I was. I would get a kick out of putting people down. And my tongue was so sharp, nobody wanted to get into engage with me. But I was so rude and disgusting, I would even talk disgusting to people. That was my nature. Now break that. Now come and somebody now talks to you and you coming to talk and you're like, okay, never mind. Can you imagine how is breaking nature with that? That you're about to talk, now we can't talk. And you forget. And that was not only with foul language. That was with lying, that was with cheating, it was with everything. That was my nature. Let's call it now. Now go and break it. Now when Hashem sees you breaking your nature by yourself, you volunteer to break your nature. It's not that Hashem is bending your hand. You understand that what you're doing is wrong. And you're saying, I'm not doing this. I don't care what the Yetzer Hara. Listen, let's talk a little bit more open. Everybody's adults here. When I became observant, first I didn't know nothing out of what's going on in the Torah. But a few years later, finally, when I met my rabbi, my first rabbi, then by the way, nobody knew. I met him right after I got out of jail. Nobody knew what's going on with my life. And after a few months of me being in his classes, I felt very close and friendly with him. I told him, something happened to me a few years ago and I want to tell you. And then I told him about the near-death experience. And eventually I told him of the jail story. And at the time, he was the only one, and he told me, this is all nisayon. This is all a test from Hashem. And he told me, Shabbat, Tefillin, and Brit. And I'm like, huh? So he tells me you have to observe Shabbat, Tefillin, and guard your Brit. So I understood the Tefillin and the Shabbat. I was like, what are you talking about? I have already I'm circumcised. So he told me, no, you have to guard the Brit. And I was like, can you speak in Hebrew? So he smacked me strong in my private part, real strong. And he said in a very rude way, I don't know if I can say that actually. He said something rude. Keep it inside, something like that, in that level. Okay? And it took me about half an hour just to get my breath back. But he made sure I understood what I need to do. And I'm like, are you serious with me? He's like, yeah. No more. I thought he's joking. But I found out very quickly he's not joking. Now, how do you break that nature? Now, when you're trying to fight the Brit, the Yetzer Hara will come to you from all directions and turn you so fast you don't even know what striked you. And very quickly you kind of figure out, I'm never going to break that. Everything I will be able to do. This, I don't know how. If you understand, first of all, the plus or the minus, or the severity or the reward, that's first of all. Then when you understand that if you want to do something, if it's parallel to Hashem, He will help you do that. If it's not parallel to Hashem, if you want to go and rob a bank, He's not going to help you. The Sitra Achra will help you. But when you want to do something good, Hashem will help you. You just have to prove it to Him. You know what I mean? Now again, not the crowd, not the time, maybe for another time. You know what methods I developed to break my nature in that department? You have to have a very imaginative mind to come up with all sorts of methods. How do you break that nature? But if you have a very strong mind, and everybody can have a strong mind, it all depends how much you want it. That's it. If you want something real bad, you'll do it. If you're not willing to fight for it, you're not wanting that much. You don't want it that much. I'm sorry to tell you. If you would be fighting for your life, for whatever situation, and you really want to live, you would fight. Here, you're not fighting. You are not fighting your Yetzer Hara. You are not, you don't think you can win because He won so many times. B, you don't believe that you can win because you don't believe in Hashem. That's it. Doesn't matter if you wear a yarmulke, you go to pray, you eat kosher. Who says you believe in Hashem? Who says you're not following a crowd like the rest of the world, following other people's tuches like a sheep? Who says you're not the one? Half the people who are in Judaism, they follow the tuches of somebody in front of them. They don't know what they're doing. They got orders. That's the reality. If I would tell you how many emails I get, Rabbi, just tell me what to do. I need to tell you what to do? You open the book and learn what to do and do it yourself. No, just tell me what to do. No, that's not how it works. So I believe that if you want something real bad, you'll get it. You'll find a way to get it. If you don't get something, it means you don't want it that much. Now let's go back to what I was saying. I want to break this nature. I want to win. I want to be able to break my nature. So, first of all, by me breaking my nature, you break all blockages in the world above you. Whatever you think is blocking your parnasah, you getting married, your yirat shamayim, your fear of God, your spiritual growth. You know what happened to me? Years after I became observant, I went up and up and up and up, and then I hit like a ceiling. I couldn't go up anymore. I started a lot of challenges, big yetzer hara. I felt them going back. And then I was like, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with this? Sometimes your challenges are not money or health or a neighbor is bothering you. Sometimes your challenges is that you want to pray in a minyan, the yetzer hara makes you late all the time. You want to pray in the minyan, you understand what's the value in it. Or you want to learn Torah, the yetzer hara is driving you crazy, you can learn Torah. Sometimes it's all has to do with the spiritual growth. Many times the challenges that you go through, it's only with your spiritual growth. You're like, I'm learning a whole year, why don't I understand? I'm praying a whole year, why nothing happens? It's not always money and fame or anything else. Sometimes it's your own personal life. Now we have to understand that we all have difficulties in mitzvot. In some of the mitzvot you are great, and in some of the mitzvot you suck. Sorry to tell you. And when I say you, I'm including myself here. I don't exclude myself from everything that I say. I also have difficulty with some mitzvot. We spoke about it a million times. You have difficulties with a mitzvah. That means this mitzvah was never accomplished by you, and that's why you need to finish it and master it in this incarnation, because you don't have another opportunity. And that's why the yetzer hara is trying to stop you from that. And on the contrary, if you have mitzvot that are easy for you, it means that in a previous incarnation, you mastered the mitzvah, you fulfilled the mitzvah. Now you're just doing it for whatever. Whether it's to gain the merit, whether it's to fulfill the 613 mitzvot, whether it's to teach others. But the mitzvot that are very difficult for you, these are the ones you have to work on yourself. So we all find ourselves in a challenge of a mitzvah right now. I'm not talking about other things. So the practice for today, locate in your life that mitzvah that is a hard one for you. It's like a thorn in your leg. You can't deal with this mitzvah. You don't like it. You do whatever you can to avoid it. And you know that. You might not tell it to other people. You might not share it with other people, but deep down inside, you are bothered by that because you are trying to grow spiritually. You are putting a lot of effort in your spiritual growth, and this is stopping you from growing. And it can drive you nuts. Find that one. Now, once you already located that mitzvah, then you have to break it. You have to understand, I need to break this mitzvah. So whether it's, it doesn't matter right now. Some people, I recommend start with something small. It's easier to break small nature, little things of nature. Don't go to the big things. And sometimes the small things are like I told you many times what I did with coffee. I was drinking 10, 12, 13, 14 cups of coffee every day. I love coffee. I still love coffee. Just I don't see any benefit in drinking 12 cups a day. It doesn't matter right now if it's healthy or not. It's completely irrelevant if coffee is healthy or not healthy. Even if it's healthy, 12 cups is not healthy. But it doesn't matter. It's the point. It's the point that I learned how to put myself on a leash. You don't need the 12 cups of coffee. Is it a sin? No. Am I doing something against God? No. Am I hurting you? No. So what's the problem? Give me my 10 cups of coffee a day. I'll tell you what the problem is. You don't know how to control yourself. Now, if you know how to control yourself with something as small as coffee, that you put yourself on a leash, eventually, when the big difficulties come, you'll be able to swift them too. So for many years, I didn't even put any importance to that. But then when I understood, I was like, okay. So it went down from 12 to 10 to 8. Now, sometimes I don't even drink coffee in a day. And not because I don't want to. It's because to show I have the upper hand. I call the shots. And when I was working on myself, it wasn't easy, by the way. Because you know why it wasn't easy? Because it wasn't a sin. And I didn't hurt anybody. And there wasn't any logical reason that I should reduce it. But nevertheless, I was like, I have to break my nature and I control. I don't let my nature pull me to the cup. So for years, up until today, by the way, I don't drink coffee in the morning. I drink coffee in the afternoon. I'm the master. And I want the coffee. And I smell it. And I want it. But I'm already so oiled when it comes to the coffee, the shut up goes instant. And sometimes just to prove to my system that I'm in control, no coffee today. But I want coffee, no coffee. Just to make a point. To a point of breaking your nature, that you control the nature and it's something small. What's coffee? And I did the same thing with pastries and treats and with the babkas, with the things that are easy. And why? Not because it's bad for me or it's a sin. Because if I know how to control the little things, now you throw at me the big challenge, I have the tools. I know how to control myself. I know how to say myself no, and I know how to say to myself, in a few minutes, in a few minutes, in a few minutes. It all depends on the mantras you have in your mind. How to control what you need to control. I'm telling you, I learned by myself, everything I did by myself, including quitting drugs, alcohol, whatever you want, and hard things. It's all how you run the record in your mind. If you have a good record player in your mind, then you know that you need to break your nature. Let's go back to what I told you. You need to find a mitzvah that you know that you can break it. But you have to understand that if you're giving yourself a discount right from the beginning, it won't work. Choose one mitzvah that you believe that will be easy for you, and you cannot let it win you. If this little mitzvah wins you, I don't want to say you're hopeless, but the whole practice here goes to waste. Now, when you break your nature, you have to understand, it doesn't matter right now. You like talking Lashon Hara. Everybody's sitting and somebody comes and tells the juiciest information, and you're like, get up, leave the room. You have to break your desire. Leave the room, I don't know what, jump in a mikveh. It doesn't matter right now what you need to do, but you need to right away get distracted and leave the opportunity. And I'm talking now Lashon Hara. It's with everything. You need to know, lagdim trufa. You need to put 2 steps ahead. You see what's going to happen. Like I mentioned, the Mishnah says, Ezu hachacham, who's a wise person? Haroeh et hanolad, that sees what the situation will birth. Do a quick analysis, 2 or 3 seconds. If I go here, okay. If I go here, that's it. And don't forget, in the middle, the Yetzer Hara is driving you nuts. Now you have to understand, again, Techav will summarize it, but when you break your nature, what happens in the world above, whatever was holding back from you is broken. That's it. Just imagine what I needed to do. I'm reverse engineering. Imagine what I needed to do in a period of 2 years to get to a point that I'm standing in front of the judge and the judge lets me go. The din was so sweetened that the judge, the judge told me? Of course, I was already with a beard by the time I come to the case, to the court. He tells me, I see you're a changed man. I see you really worked on yourself. You look like you're on a very good path. I don't want to ruin your future. That's how he talked. A year ago I was a criminal. Now you don't want to ruin my future? And you know what I see? I see the man, like Biden, talks, doesn't know what he's talking about, and Hashem is putting words in his mouth. And typing whatever. Everybody was like, now let's reverse engineer it. I'm reverse engineering. What did I do to get such a chut shel chesed? Then first of all, everything in my nature I broke. You have to understand, I'm skipping a lot of information in the story, but when I got out of jail, but about half a year, I was abused by the FBI. Every day, 3-4 hours of investigations. The story becomes much, much more tangled, but for half a year, I was going through hell. And in that half a year, I was a Jew on steroids. Never in my life have been in such a level. Barely slept. Every night, I lived in New York at that time. Every night I would go in the freezing cold weather of New York to the grave of the Lubavitch Rebbe and would read a whole book of Tehillim till my eyebrows would be ice already. Because 20 years ago, now they have a heater there. Then, 20 years ago, there was nothing there. Every night. A whole book of Tehillim. I wouldn't even, lo pasik pumya migirse. My mouth didn't stop with Torah. Tehillim, all day long. You can't even imagine what I did. The level of tshuva that I did, and that was the result. Now, when you're able to break this nature, then you reveal this what Rabbi Shimon says, this nekudat hamtzan, this little air that Hashem has for the special occasions. Only then you are able to reveal that point, which means, okay, let's call it now a miracle, that something was terrible had to happen and some great miracle happened. There is a very special light that has the ability to sweeten judgments, and you have to know it and believe it. And when you know it, now you develop your belief in it, then you have to understand that there is that light. What do I need to do? I need to give from myself to Hashem. That's how it works. If you believe in that, then it means that you're willing to give from yourself to Hashem. That Hashem is more important to you than itself. And really, that was the foundation of my efforts of how I got rid of all my bad habits. Is that I did it because I wanted to give from myself to Hashem. And not for myself. Because when I eat like a pig, I give to myself. When I go after, I'm talking about 20 years ago, or now. When I go run after women, it's for myself. I run after money, it's for myself. Doesn't matter what I run after, it's for myself. That's selfish. And I figured out that if I want to go out of the maze of the chaotic state that I'm in, is not giving myself anything, is giving everything to Hashem. Now Hashem doesn't need nothing. But He really likes it when you give Him from yourself. And very few people do it. Not a lot of people do it. Hashem is number 2. They're number 1. Another tip that the Zohar adds on that is where can else you can reach this hamtakat dinim. Not everybody can break the nature. Some people don't have what to break. And some people are not in the level of breaking nature. The Zohar adds on and says another place of hamtakat dinim, of sweetening the judgment, is here. In a shiur Torah, live. Not YouTube. I know thousands watch videos on YouTube. That's not a shiur Torah. I said that many times. Don't get discouraged. It's better than nothing. Better watching this than flipping on TikTok or Instagram. Or watching some junk on Netflix or whatever junk you watch. So much better to watch on YouTube my videos or other rabbi videos. But you want to learn Torah, it's not like that. Only with a book. Only with a book, in a class, in a Bet Midrash. Besides the fact that now I might drop another bum, because many people say, I learn from books. You know that half the books, most people don't even have the knowledge to learn by themselves. And they learn by themselves. They buy cheap copies of the Zohar in Amazon and they learn Zohar. Zohar you have to learn with a teacher. You can't learn it by yourself unless you are years and years and years and you know the language. Do you know the language? Do you know Aramaic? No, so don't learn Zohar by yourself. Don't buy the cheap versions you find online on Amazon and all sorts of junk. People send me pictures. This is a good version of the Zohar. Well, if it's not in Aramaic, it's not the Zohar. That's it. There's no translation to the Zohar. And the translation that they pull out there, it's not the real translation. And trust me, I know the Aramaic. I read the translations. It's not how you learn Zohar. That's it. I'm sorry I blew up your bubble now with the translations of the Zohar. There's no real good translation of the Zohar. The Zohar needs to be learned in Aramaic. Exactly how the Talmud needs to be learned in Aramaic and the Torah needs to be learned in Lashon Kodesh. Not in English. And I know you might say, but I don't know Hebrew. So go and learn. You're calling yourself a follower of God? How don't you know His language? That all adds to what I'm saying. And again, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm blessed that I was born in Israel and I had the language, my mother tongue. When I went to yeshiva in America, I was so upset for the other guys. It takes them 4 or 5 years just to learn the language. I'm 17 steps ahead. But if somebody would come to you now and offer you $1 million a month job with a signed contract for 20 years, I'm sure you would jump on this job, doesn't matter what it is. Well, you're the first one who said no. Assuming it's a good job, it's just a metaphor, just for you to get the point. Now, let's say the job is $1 million a month, you have a 20-year contract. You would jump on this opportunity. But then they're going to tell you there's one condition to this job. The factory is in Brazil, you need to learn Portuguese. Huh? You would learn Portuguese in 3 days to get that $1 million job. Trust me. You would find all the online courses. You would sing in Portuguese in 3 months just to get that $1 million a month job, right? Toda. Then why don't you learn Hebrew? You're looking for eternity? You want to be close to the master of the universe? So learn his language. That's the first thing you need to do. I'm sorry to tell you. I know I'm discouraging you and I know I'm offending you. How can you learn Torah and be observant and you don't know Hebrew? I'm sorry. I know I'm a little bit exaggerating, but good. Who cares if I'm exaggerating? Go learn Hebrew, so you can say Shema like a mensch, like it should be said. And I'll say, "Oh Israel," here, but that's not Shema. So start with learning how to say Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, with Hashem's name. Learn every day, one verse. So, okay, enough with the insulting. Learning Torah is in a shiur Torah with a learned rabbi and books. That's how you learn Torah. What you're doing here right now is spoon-fed. I'm spoon-feeding you what you need to, which is good, it's great. But you need to go home and open a book and read by yourself. That's the real learning Torah. That you read by yourself, you figure it out by yourself, you open the commentaries, you go to the sources, you put the dots together, and yes, it will take you 3 hours to learn one line, but you learned it. And you know it now. And that's the limud Torah. So anything that happens in Torah in public, that's, believe it or not, the simple way to Hamtakat Dinim. Go 3 times a day and pray in a minyan. By not the Ben Ish Chai, I forgot. Don't hold me by that. I forgot if it was the Ben Ish Chai, it doesn't matter. Who says, if you pray in a minyan, you just pray in a minyan, automatically you have Hirurei Tshuva. You have thoughts of Tshuva. And I know women are exempt from minyan. So go once a week to the minyan, listen to the Torah. I know you don't have to, but benefit from that. So now the example that I'm giving is a man. But regardless, praying in a minyan, praying betzibur, in public, learning Torah in public, that's Hamtakat Dinim. The problem is that, unfortunately, the Yetzer Hara is making sure that even in the minyanim, there's lashon hara and hate and machlokot and disagreements, and he said and she said, I don't want him here, he's from that group. Let me conclude, because I really we're already an hour and 40 minutes, and I have a flight in a few hours. The Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, concludes on what we just learned, and he says as follows: Lifnei hageula, yihu tzarot rabot liYisrael. Before the redemption, there's going to be a lot of problems to the nation of Israel. And he's using the word tzarot. Tzarot is harsh problems, and we see it. And he says there's 3 reasons for that. The first reason, letzaref klut ha'umah me'arshaim, is to sift the wicked people from our nation. Which we see that Hashem is doing that, and is slowly pulling out all the wicked people. The second reason, letzaref et hanisharim shizku legeula, the ones who remain, now let me purify them, that they should merit to be part of the exile. You know that if we had some type of a way to know, I don't think we would be so far from the fact that not everyone has the merit to be in the redemption. And you know what's the proof to that? That in the last 5-10 years, look how many people died. And great ones. I'm not talking about Stam. They died because they're 92. In the last 5 years, most of the great rabbis of our generation died. Up until the last few weeks. We don't have much left. I mean, all the great sages we had in the last decade, 2 decades, all died. Rav Avadia, Rav Kanievsky, Rav Steinman, they all died. I see it as I read in many books, before Hashem is going to come and bring his showdown to the world, he's removing the ones that he doesn't want them to see and suffer from what's going to happen. So he removes them from the world. I don't want you to see. But nevertheless, the proof to what I'm saying is that not everybody has the merit or will have the merit to be redeemed. And the proof is that in the last 10 years, people die all day long. And great people that you wouldn't think they would die. That's your proof that not everybody's going to make it alive to see the redemption. End of story. You can't argue with that. It's facts. Called Chevre Kadisha. They'll tell you how many people died in the last 10 years. So the people who died in the last 10 years, how I see it, obviously didn't have the merit to be in the redemption. And you know how many people are going to die a day before Mashiach comes? They don't have the merit to be in the redemption. They'll make it all the way to the end. That's it. The sad reality, if you analyze what the Holy Book's saying, most people don't have the merit to be in the redemption. So that's why Hashem is doing this right now. That's the second reason, what the Ramak says. All this hardship, all this suffering, all this tzarot that he's talking about, letzaref et hanisharim shizgeu legula, to purify the ones who stay, that they should have the merit to be included in the redemption. So all the suffering that you're going through is Hashem's way of preparing you to the redemption. He says, you're not ready. I have to make you ready. How? Yisurim, hardship. That's how it works. That's what the Ramak says. Because of the suffering of all the hardship and all the problems, yitkaper avonam. Their sin will be forgiven. It's not the only source. We have many sources that explains that suffering, hardship, and all these problems removes all the sins. And more than that, he adds on that the Ramak, there will be a lot that will die and will be wounded, as we see in front of our face. And he says something very powerful. He says that's their tikkun. They had to die, or they had to be wounded. Which means that everybody who died, 7 October, terror attacks, Meron, all these situations, that it's not a normal death. When you're 90, that's normal death. So he says, the ones who will get killed and the ones who get wounded, it's their tikkun. They had to get killed. That's their kapara. So that's good news for us. At least we know that the ones that died, they got a kapara. They got a atonement. They'll rise in the resurrection of the dead. Baruch Hashem, at least they got that. They're not going to merit to see the coming of Mashiach, but at least they're going to be resurrected. So it's very important to conclude what he's saying, that even the ones who get wounded, because some get wounded, some don't. And the ones who die, that's part of the tikkun. And there will be resurrected in Tchiyat HaMetim. So, let's go from the backwards to the front. The reality is that if you're looking at the state of the world, you can't say almost anything good about what's going on in the world. Almost nothing. Right? I mean, you can be optimistic, and that's very nice that you're optimistic and all that, but that doesn't change anything. If you think that now because Biden stepped down, Trump is going to win and everything's going to be okay, well, get a checkout. Doesn't mean Trump is going to win. And who says that if he's going to win, it's going to be okay? You're putting your trust in a human being. And you think it makes a difference if it's Biden or Kamala or whoever other puppet they're going to pull out? Obama's husband, wife. They'll just pull out whoever they want and it will be just the same. And you think that Hashem is not running the circus? So the entire circus that you're seeing in front of you is managed by Hashem. I don't think, not Bibi, not Shmibi, not anyone, not any politician can come and do anything. People getting upset. Why are the IDF is doing? Why is the IDF doing? If you want to look at it in this level, then it's all corrupt. But if you want to look at it in this level, that's what Hashem wants. That's it. Hashem is the one who's paralyzing whoever he wants to paralyze and making them impotent and can't do nothing. It's all Hashem. Using the idiots that are running the show, and they think they are running the show, and we think they are corrupt, when at the whole time, they're just puppets of Hashem. Hashem is running the show, and the reality is that Hashem is putting to us through one hell of a show. And if you don't get focused very fast on what's going on, you're going to fall between the cracks. Because at this point, Hashem is coming full force with judgments. He's not offering a lot of mercy right now. We had that many years ago. And to bring mercy on you, look what you need to do. You need to break yourself. You need to change yourself. You need to completely break every part of your nature to be able to merit such a level of God interfering in your life and making order in your life. And the proof is that Hashem can do whatever He wants. Your life can be falling apart to pieces. And Hashem can put it all together within a blink of an eye. You think Hashem has an issue? I saw with my own eyes how Hashem fixes situations that that's not natural. And lucky for you, every time I record it. Go to my YouTube, see hundreds of videos of me saying miracles how Hashem did to me, and it's not normal. And you can doubt as much as you want. Everything is documented. I don't invent things. So we have to understand the order of what's going on right now, in case you didn't. The world is in a state of insanity. And now is nothing. Hashem just started putting the pressure. It's going to go more and more and more and more. For one reason, Hashem wants everybody on their knees. Hashem is going to break everybody. Either you break yourself, or Hashem is going to break you. That's how it's going to work. If you break yourself prior to that, you're going to be good. You walk through the birth pains of Mashiach with a smile on your face. Your challenges will be reduced. Your difficulties will be removed. Your doubts will be fulfilled with emunah. It all depends on you. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet, Tehillim 23, even if I walk in the valley of shadow of darkness, lo yirava, will have no fear. Why? Atay madi, you are with me. You with me. Why should I be afraid of a government, of terrorists, of a missile, of a virus? What do you want me to be afraid of? Hashem invents everything, prevents everything, and controls everything. So I need to be dependent on a government, or the health agency, on a whatever. That's how pathetic most of the world is. And they blame it on, no, I need to do an effort, or I need to do this, or I need to do... No, you don't need to do nothing. You need to believe in God. And God is going to control the world, change the situation. So it all depends, A, how much you are willing to believe. Ask yourself how much you believe in it. Because, like I told you, if you believe in something real, it will happen. The Baal Shem Tov says, you are where your mind is. You put your mind, you meditate on something strong, you'll be there. You'll do or what you're thinking of. You know the famous story with the Baal Shem Tov. One time in the middle of the prayer, one guy finishes praying next to the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov turns around to him and tells him, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. It's standing next to you for the last hour. He's like, yeah, you've been standing next to me, but your mind, you're not here. You just came back. So I'm greeting you, Shalom Aleichem. So, besides the chaos in the world, besides the chaos in my own world, that can be put to a stop in 1 second. Whatever your misery is, a financial struggle, marital struggle, emotional struggle, fears, anxieties, uncertainty, lack of emunah, whatever it is. It can be from here to tomorrow. I can be 100% amazing on the mitzvot. When it comes to my emotions and my feelings and my attributes, total failure. Each person is struggling with something, and in most cases, 10 things. You need to recognize that Hashem is the only one who's in control. You have to recognize that until you break yourself and give from yourself to Hashem, nothing's going to happen. This is it. We're not 10 years ago that Hashem is nice to us. Hashem is already telling us straight out, that's it, time is running out. Mashiach is coming any moment. We think we have time for games right now. Get your act together and let's move fast. That's what Hashem is doing. Knees up. We have 2 months, get in shape. That's what Hashem is doing. Why don't you get here? Hashem is getting us in shape. Because when Mashiach is going to come, if you're not in shape, you miss the boat. You won't be able to jump on the Geula wagon if you're not ready. You're not going to sustain the godly light when Mashiach comes. So Hashem is now making the treadmill run real fast, and you're like, you know how the bottom of the treadmill world goes fast? You have to keep up. So you have to keep up. That's it. Take everything that I told you in this class, internalize it, listen to it again and again and again, and then apply it. I guarantee to you that you will be able to see this godly light shining on you, and you'll see how Hashem can give you a drop of oxygen when you are breathless. When things are at the end and you can't take it anymore and there's no solution, and according to nature, nothing can save me right now. Put Hashem to the test. Don't challenge Him. I just said put it to the test. You take yourself, you acknowledge everything that I just said, and then you choose one of your difficulties and you go full force to break it. Come to me after and complain if it didn't work. I guarantee to you it's going to work. It worked for me 1,000 times. When you break yourself, you can't even imagine what beautiful light comes out. And if you don't, you have to be very careful that Hashem is going to break you. Because when Hashem wants results, if He sees you are able to produce results by breaking yourself, and now you're resting, not good. He's going to start breaking you, left and right, because He knows that's how He gets results. So we're moments before the redemption. I know moments can be a year or 2 or 3, but it's still moments before the redemption. Listen, I don't know if you feel what I feel. I finish doing Havdalah, I wipe the cup of Havdalah, and then I go prepare for Shabbat. Right? Todah. I'm not the only nut. It's Sunday, Friday. Shabbat goes in slow motion. But Sunday through Friday, why? That's it. It's where it's like the end of the sand clock. You know, in the beginning of the sand clock, it's wide. You don't see the sand going down. At the bottom, like at the end, there's no salt. It's no sand anymore. That's exactly what's going on. We're like moments before the end. Time is already fast. So therefore, Hashem is saying, I got to step it up. You're not going to be ready. The redemption has a schedule. We're already going into that. If you're not going to catch up, you're going to have a problem. The problem is that the Yetzer Hara is the master of numbing everybody. Everybody's asleep. Whatever they smoke, take, inhale, it doesn't matter. Everybody's asleep. You know? which is the worst time to sleep, because now you have to be on your toes and to understand that every second is an attack from the Yetzer Hara, trying to break your spirit. But there's no other option. You either have the option of falling down and giving up, which you won't, and you have the option of fighting and breaking through all the challenges, and you don't need to do much. You do the beginning, Hashem does the rest. So I hope I understand from all this how valuable, how important, and how urgent it was for me to say it. Not something that can wait another 2 months, because we have different stops. Now till Tu B'Av, we have a lot more to break. From Tu B'Av, we get a little bit of a break. But we are very pushed with time and pressured with time, because we need to reach to Rosh Hashanah after we were able to achieve many different things in our spiritual growth. So time is of the essence. I don't know what tomorrow is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in a week. All I know is that the pressure is becoming stronger and stronger. And, when a person is drowning, he fights a lot, but at some point they lose their energy. They can't fight anymore. This is very appropriate for the ones who they don't have energy to fight anymore. They don't have an energy to deal with things anymore. Or even in the beginning of the ray. Either way, Hamaseh Wa'ikar. If you sat here for 2 hours, Hamaseh Wa'ikar means the action is what counts. If you sat here now for 2 hours, I wanted it to be an hour, went to 2 hours. At least it's not 3. It's an hour and 56 minutes. I promise you it will be less than 2. But if you sat here already for 2 hours, and you don't apply anything from what was just learned in the last 2 hours, Yatsa scharo be'efsedo. Your reward is that you lost the opportunity. That's what you end up with. A loss of opportunity. It all depends, what do you do when you leave the room? If you go and wait for the YouTube to go up so you can listen to it again and write your notes that you didn't write, or you go with your notes that you've been writing in the last 2 hours and you're making a plan, what do you do? If you don't do nothing, why are you sitting here? And if you do, then do it the whole way. Do it the right way. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're already at the point that Hashem is showing to us, there's nothing to be afraid of, because the worst is already happening. What's going to happen now? Another missile, another terror attack, another stupid president. What else? Another invented virus. What's the next thing that you're going to come and throw at me? Fake alien invasion. What are you planning for us? It's all nonsense. It's all distractions. Like I told you from day one. Distractions for you not to focus on what you need to focus on. And in the meantime, the Yetzer Hara is scoring one after the other. So what we need to do is we need to stop. We need to understand the situation. And we need to understand, situation is bad, but not that bad. I don't see the world in a bad situation. I'm saying that because that's how people see it. I don't see that the world is in a bad situation. I think the world is in a great situation. Hashem is preparing the coming of Mashiach. He's destroying all evil in the world in His pace. Let Hashem do His thing. We'll take another year, another 2 years. So sit back and relax. You have issues in your life, some challenges. I just gave you the solution. Trust me, follow what I do now. All your challenges might remain, but they'll be easy to deal with. And there will be solutions to your challenges. And there's going to be answers to your challenges. So Hashem can be even a greater Kiddush Hashem, showing you how He can save you. But give Hashem the opportunity. And Hashem at this point is not giving presents. He says, you want something? You do something. You step forward, show me that you're willing to give part of you to me, then I will show you how much I can come and help you. And I'm telling you, you cannot even imagine the levels of miracles that Hashem can do. Hashem, there's nothing above Hashem. Hashem can do whatever He wants, whenever He wants, however He wants, including what He does now. That's all Hashem. And od milvado. So what you need to take and conclude from this entire class is that we're in the timeline, in the specific place. Can't change the timeline, can't go forward, can't make it go backwards. At this point, it's survival mode. But the ones who are going to be the leaders and the ones who are going to be the winners are the ones who get what I just said. Trust me, I've been going through this material for a few weeks now. See how I'm going to learn it, how I'm going to teach it. Should I read the whole Zohar? Should I sit now for 9 hours and read the Zohar? They're not going to get anything. I'm going to have to figure out how to... Just make a short class. So I'm telling you, for me, is a game changer. But let me make one thing clear to all my students. What I teach you is after I tune it. It's not me learning something and, hey guys, I learned something I want to share with you. I take it to my workshop. I work on it. And when it comes back that it works, then I can come and tell you, okay, I got something good for you guys. So it's not an invention. It's not something that is a theory. I take my experience, put it all together and say, you know what, that's what it required. When I reverse engineer what I did to get a merit that Hashem intervened in my life 20 plus years ago and got me out of a situation that only Hashem can do it, to a point that anyone who was involved was pointing on Hashem. That it was only an unbelievable miracle. So, I know that Hashem can change things. I've seen it with my own eyes. I experienced that when you give room to Hashem, and when you really do the 1, 2, 3 steps that you need to do, this happens. It happens. You'll be shocked. Hashem is just waiting to do a miracle for you so you can then go and advertise it and run around the streets and say, you can't believe what Hashem did to me. Why do you think I'm telling you all these classes all the time? Because Hashem does miracles to me all the time, and I have to come and say it. I have to come and teach. You can't imagine what Hashem did to me. Oh, why you're not doing that, I don't know. Today with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you can have your own platform. You put your own miracle story. How come other people are doing it? Now that's a whole different topic. I'm not going to sidetrack to this now. What we need to focus on, that if everything that I talked with doesn't apply to you, good, you're a good Jew, continue doing what you're doing. You don't need to listen. But if you held now for 2 hours, it means that at least one of my words struck some nerve for you to say, you know what, I'm dealing with this. How should I deal with that? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Life is becoming chaotic and it's going to become worse. Don't think it's coming better. Don't think that if Trump is going to win, America is going to be great again. It's not going to happen. Same with Bibi, same with Shmibi, same with everybody. They're all in the same pot. One is, in Hebrew it says, Zen velav v'zeh trefa. Same thing. Nevela means an animal that you find dead on the side of the road, and trefa means that an animal bite it, like a hyena bite the deer and went, and the animal is dead, but it's bitten. It's 2 different statuses of a dead corpse. So in Hebrew, zen vela, zeh trefa, same junk. We need to focus on everything that I just said, and by the way, everything that I read to you, I do. I do it myself. I focus, I put it to the test, I do it to myself. People think that because I have a nice yarmulke and a long beard, that I'm all day long learning Torah and licking honey and everything is great. Money is just coming from the sky. My bank accounts, money comes into the bank accounts. I don't have mortgage, I don't have tuition. I'm just like every other person. I have 7 kids to feed, much more than you, by the way. I have a wife to take care of, 7 kids to feed. I'm not talking about now an organization to run. I'm talking about my little family. I am a normal person like you. I also pay tuition. I also wake up in the morning tired. I have also I also deal with everything that other people deal with. It's not that I'm some special specimen. And trust me, I will give you my Yetzer Hara and my challenges any day. You give me yours, I'll give you mine. I know you don't want it. But I'm telling you, don't think that I'm licking honey all day long. Trust me, I have challenges from here to tomorrow. And my Yetzer Hara is a commando Yetzer Hara. It's not a regular Yetzer Hara that just pushes you to eat something unkosher. He's like a CIA Yetzer Hara. He comes to me, I don't even know how to recognize the Yetzer Hara. And the challenges, what do you think, Hashem leaves me alone? All day long I have challenges, which I'm fine with. That's what Hashem wants me to deal with. I'll deal with it. I don't complain. I'm just telling you, I'm as human as you, and I deal with whatever I teach you. It's after I chewed on it, like I said. So take this information. It's valuable. It works. Hashem is waiting for you to do the step. Hashem wants you, all the pressure that Hashem does right now, if you're asking why, He wants your attention. Hashem wants you to do tshuva. How did the Ramak say? לצרף את הנשארים שיזכו לגאולה. To clean and purify the ones who remain so they will merit to be part of the redemption. That's what Hashem is doing for you. You are angry that Hashem is not giving you money, your wife, your child, your business, whatever. And Hashem is telling you, I'm cleaning you. Shut up for 2 minutes. Stop complaining. I'm cleaning the dirt. You're not doing it yourself. One of the first words that my rabbi told me 20 plus years ago, he's like, break yourself, you'll save the job for Hashem. That's it. Say, Hashem, wait a few minutes and you go break yourself. You wake up 4 o'clock in the morning when your eyes are like that and jump into a freezing cold mikveh. When you like, what am I doing? I asked myself, I was 28 years old, jumping into freezing cold mikveh at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I would ask myself, are you okay? Are you okay? What's wrong with you? And very quickly, my sanity will tell, it's not that I'm okay. That is what I need to do. Break yourself. It will save Hashem from the job. That's what you need to do. You take on yourself what you need to break. Show Hashem you're busy with breaking your midot, breaking your ego, breaking your nature. Hashem is going to skip you and it's going to break somebody else. Breakage will have to be. Suffering will have to be. You're going to have to be in pain. That's where you grow. End of story. You don't grow when you're on vacation. You grow when you're under pressure. You grow when there's pain. You grow when there's no other option. Then you do whatever you do to save the situation. So Hashem says, I don't want lazy people. There's no time for laziness. I need you to do it yourself. You're not going to do it yourself? I'm sorry. I'll do it for you. So what we want to take from that, break yourself to break your nature so you can break the klipot in the world above, and you will allow Hashem to show you that little drop of oxygen that will give you that breath that you need to go another 2 steps. And you break yourself again, Hashem will give you another breath, bigger breath, that you can go another 2 steps. And every time the water covers you, all the problems that you have, like a wave, you need a good breath and you go down under the water for as much as you can. You go up again. Take a deep breath and you go down. That's it. That's how you survive. And not only that's how you survive, that's how you win. That's how you change. That's how you affect your world and the entire world. I told you in the beginning, you with your mitzvot, you are making a new world order. Bring now a strong group of people, put them together, that they follow the mitzvot together, publicly, what we did in the 40 days journey. I believe that we did a big effect in the world. If you ask me now why we're not doing it, I don't know. Don't ask me why we're not doing it. Recycle what we did last year. I'm going to end with a prayer, with a request from Hashem and from all of us that Hashem should have mercy on us, bring us the redemption fast, that we should all deal with our problems in a positive way, that we should all grow from our problems, that the problems should disappear and be like they weren't there, and that the lessons that Hashem is trying to teach us, we would learn by ourselves without having to go through whatever Hashem is putting us to learn the messages that Hashem is trying to tell us. And Hashem should give us the clarity and the ability to see the truth in front of us and to have the power to break our nature and be successful in everything that we learned. And we should be all merit to be part of the redemption and hasten the redemption. And Bezrat Hashem, do Kiddush Hashem, exactly what Hashem wants to happen in the world, what He mentions in Yechezkel and Yirmiyahu, it's all Kiddush Hashem. And our tshuva, our change is Kiddush Hashem. And Bezrat Hashem, Hashem will bless us all to be successful in whatever we put in front of us as a task, as a goal, as a challenge. We're going to make it. Hashem is with you. And Bezrat Hashem, we're all going to be successful, and we're all going to be marching with our hands strung up, Yad Chazaka, Be'ezroa Netuya, straight into the Geula, put the Yetzirah to shame, and Bezrat Hashem, see the fruits of our hard labor, and be blessed with all the kindness and great mercy of Hashem.